Welcome back. I'm Mike Zika. This is part of our continuing series of setting up Foundry for Savage Worlds. Now, when I first started this series, I recorded several episodes in a row, and when editing them, I realized there's a few topics I really should go more into depth. One of them is compendiums. So, as you see here on the screen, I have my compendium folder, and compendiums serve a very important purpose in Foundry. If I go to another folder, such as this one right here, you notice I have a bunch of equipment right here. And if I go to the Actors tab, I have some bandits, some PCs. Every time someone loads up Foundry, to connect as a player or as a GM, they actually download all the data found in the Scenes tab, Actors tab, Items tab, Journals tab, etc. And right now, it's not a lot of data, but as you can imagine, as a campaign progresses, that this simple selection of 6 actors will grow to sometimes up to hundreds of actors as you add more monsters and bad guys, etc. Same thing for the items. And items is not just equipment, it could also be skills and edges and hindrances and special abilities and races. And so downloading that data session after session will really impact the performance of Foundry, at least when you start up. So to get around that, what Foundry has done is created something called a compendium. A compendium is basically like the book on the shelf. It's not downloaded until you actually refer to it. So if I will open up one of these at random and then select that right there, if you notice that little pause right there, that was Foundry fetching the data from the website. So the data was not downloaded when I logged into Foundry, it was downloaded when I requested the data. I keep referring to compendiums as that book on the shelf because it kind of acts that way. So before each game session, GMs can go in, open up their books, and just start pulling things over to the items tab or actor tab that they'll need for that particular session or game, adventure, whatever. And so now during the actual game, everything I need is right here. And I'm now looking through the compendiums trying to find, like, oh, I need a soldier. Let me pull open the bestiary and look up soldier. Because depending on your setting, you might have multiple compendiums. You might need to modify things. And doing it on the fly takes time, but you can set all that stuff ahead of time using these tabs. The other thing that's useful is you can modify stuff in the tabs as does not affect the compendium. Let me show an example. So I'm going to go visit skills. So first I'm going to uh, import all content. I'll call it fantasy skills. So I go to items tab. I have all the skills now imported from the compendium into my items tab. I've opened up the compendium, keep it over here. Remember, every time we copy something, it's actually a real copy. So I can go in and modify. So I can call academics, let's copy paste for now, and call it smart stuff. And so in here, it's now called smart stuff. Whereas over here, it's still academics. And you can modify anything in here, the base die, the linked attribute, etc. It will not impact the compendium at all. So what you can do when setting up a campaign is go through this list and edit out any skill that you don't want or change any skill that you need to make it campaign specific. So for example, I went through the skill list right here and removed any skill or almost any skill, missed one, that I will not be using for the fantasy setting. So everything here is just the ones that I'll be using, and I removed all the ones that I will not be using. If I want to add any new additional skills, I can do so as well. And once I do that, I can then create a new compendium. I go to compendium tabs, Just create compendium. I'll call it fantasy skills. Document type is item. So now I have fantasy skills as a compendium. So I go to the item tab, fantasy skills, export to compendium, fantasy skills, and they're all copied over. So I go to compendium. I can open up this one. So I have the original skills. I have the fantasy skills. As you notice, I still have smart stuff in here because I did not rename it to academics. And if I look at my items, all these in fantasy skills are now copies of this tab right here. So I go into here, say I change athletics to something else. The compendium does not update because it's a copy of the list. So if I can then go and remove the folder, delete all. If I just remove the folder, all the skills within it will be then dumped into the parent folder, which I then have to go through and delete individually to clean up. So we want to make sure we delete all. Yep. And so now we have our fancy skills. I can then go in and lock this for editing. So it cannot be edited until you unlock it. And then I can drag this to a folder which it can live in, which is it's an item, so you can go to the item folder. The other thing you can do is go through and then start hiding everything you don't want your players to see. Like if I don't want them to see the bestiary, I can go toggle visibility, and this little icon right here pops up to let you know that your players cannot see the bestiary. So I don't want them seeing like the basic skills or the basic edges and so on. A little cumbersome to do, but I also go by the folder, go hide all from players. It'll mark all these as hidden. You can then go in and, like, we want to show the fantasy skills, we can toggle that visibility. The other thing that's compendium related is specific to Savage Worlds, not just general Foundry, and that is the table of contents toggle. You might have noticed this little icon right here to toggle table of contents. So I'm going to open up one of these. Firearms is easiest to see. So I'm going to first duplicate it. Just call it a copy. So we have modern firearms and modern firearms copy. This one down here, I'll toggle the compendium TOC, and this will reload Foundry. So after Foundry reloads, you can go look at see what the difference is. So we have our modern firearms copy and our modern firearms. And hopefully you can see the difference. This one has table of contents activated, and this one does not. So with the TOC activated, the software will do its best to group everything into the different categories. And it's usually like based on this field right here. Whereas if you have it turned off, it looks like this. So depending on what item you're using in the template, it sometimes works better in some spots than others. But this is what the TOC for in Savage Worlds refers to. As you can tell, as you go and toggle each one of these individual TOCs, it will reload the entire Foundry. To do it quickly, or all at once, we go to Configure Settings, Savage Worlds, and the Compendium TOC settings, and everything we have selected here will then activate their TOCs and format them, or attempt to format them, so that you get looking all nice and pretty. This includes things that we create ourselves, like this no fancy skills and our copy of modern firearms. As you tell, when you saved it, it reloads Foundry. So that is Compendiums. If you have any questions, leave the comments down below. If you happen to like this video, thumbs up are always appreciated. and want to make sure you get notified when the next episode drops in the series, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.